What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Today, I got two co-hosts with me today. I got my cousin Dustin and my cousin Chris. They're part of what you would say is my tribe. They're part of my tribe, and we're going to be reviewing a movie that should have came out a long time ago. It took over a decade to get this movie made, and that is, of course, the sequel to James Cameron's Avatar, and he returns back in 2022 with Avatar: The Way of Water, where we follow the story of Jake Sully and his girl Neytiri. They got a family now. They're living in Pandora. And what do you know? Us humans, we can't hold back. You know, we got to take those resources. So Jake Sully and his family find themselves in trouble, and they got to leave a certain part of Pandora and join up with another tribe. And that's where we get The Way of Water. It's a long movie. I will say I enjoyed it, but I have a lot of things to say about this movie that I think that we all do. We kind of all share kind of the same opinion, but I'm pretty sure they'll differ in a lot of ways as well. So I'll let Dustin go first. Dustin, before we get into spoilers,
okay,
what you think about the movie?
Are we doing ratings?
Not ratings yet. Let's save that for the end.
Okay. All right. First of all, it's long. It is long, like you said. It's 3 hours plus long. Okay. Not to mention you got to sit through there on reclining chairs, by the way. Okay. We know who messed that up.
Time out. Okay.
3 hours in a theater with no reclining chairs.
Yeah. Whose fault is that?
Yeah. Whose
fault is that?
All
right. I apologize, by the way, to these two jabronis. You know, they put me in charge to get the best theater with the best movie quality experience, which I did. I got IMAX 3D with great seats. And these two ungrateful bastards mad at me.
Great seats would have been reclining.
Yeah, they're mad at me because I didn't get reclining seats. And you know what? Yeah. I do apologize for if you were uncomfortable for 3 hours. I apologize, but please continue.
Okay. Anyway, it was long. It was a little. Yeah, there could have been a lot more cut out for that movie. I'll tell you that right now. All right. In one word for me with Avatar, screensaver. It is a screensaver movie. 2 words would have been live wallpaper, because that's what it was. The visuals were amazing. It was beautiful. But just right off the bat, I would call it a screensaver type movie. It's gorgeous. It's beautiful. The story, however, was kind of rehashed. There was a little bit of a story in there. And when you put the story together, it's basically the same story, just in water. That's really all it was. It was just in water. And I just felt like, I fell asleep an hour 2.5.
Okay, so wait a minute. You fell asleep, which means the seats were comfortable. Those seats were comfortable, baby. So don't get at me for bad seats if you fell asleep.
It could have been way better.
Yeah, for me, it was like, okay, James Cameron, I get it. You're showing us this unbelievable visual live wallpaper on this big screen with 3D glasses and everything like that. But the story, it was chopped up. Like there was some excitement in the beginning, and then it really slowed down, and then it picked right back up in the end for the climax.
I agree. There was a huge lull in the middle of that movie. There was a huge lull in the middle. I agree with you there. But all right, Chris, what did you think of the movie?
Well, Dustin summed it up in 2 words. I'll use 3 words. Long, beautiful, and blue.
All right, 3 words. Anything else?
It was a long movie. I would say if you're going to see the movie, 100%, you got to watch it in 3D. Maybe it doesn't have to be IMAX, but definitely 3D, because the visuals really, really pop when you're watching it in 3D. I guess I wasn't falling asleep at any point. There was definitely some slow parts. Could work on the pacing a bit. I was entertained, but not more so for the story, but more so for the visuals. I was, even for today, 2022, soon to be 2023. I think it was amazing. Like I was blown away. But the 3D really, I think that's how James Cameron intended for us to view the movie, and I can see why, because it was a masterpiece in terms of visual effects. So yeah,
the visuals. I mean, James Cameron. I mean, say what you will about the plot, but James Cameron has once again set the bar in terms of visual effects. He used Weta Studios. They also did the effects for Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings back in the day. And their reputation still holds high because there were times in the movie where like long portions of time where it's like, if like I was like an alien, like watching this movie, I would think that the Na'vi are real people because they looked better than ever, way better than the first one. And that was a monumental achievement in itself. But yeah, the way the Na'vi looked in this movie, I wasn't a big fan of the cat design at first, but yeah, they looked really good in this movie. I will even say I get why Jake betrayed humanity to slay some blue alien ass, because I will say
I'm sure you would. That's
Yeah.
your style.
yeah,
That's your
that's my style. That's my style.
I'll tell you this about the visual. This is something, and I told Chris about this after the movie. Okay, I did say this to you if you remember. I was like, I wonder how we would feel about the visuals if it wasn't IMAX 3D. And I said that to Chris.
Yeah, I can answer that for you. I mean, I wouldn't give it a second viewing at home.
I'm kind of, yeah, I have to do it. I would not give it a second viewing.
But so both of you, once it hits Blu-ray, you're like, nah, I'm good.
No.
Yeah, for 3 hours, not in 3D and IMAX, I would have to pass.
Yeah.
Whew, you hate to hear that, but you know what? I agree 100% because I just got done praising the visuals, praising James Cameron for his achievement in the visuals once again. But yeah, I'm with you. 3 hours is a long time. 3 hours is a long time, especially when your story is really simple and, dare I say, even dull. Because like you said, it's essentially the first film all over again. Like, we'll get into spoilers in a little bit, but I felt like they could have easily chopped 30, 40 minutes away from this movie to have the pacing better, especially towards that second act. But yeah, I'm with both of you. This is an event movie where you have to watch it in the movie theater in the best quality possible. Like you said, Dustin, IMAX preferably, because you got shit flying all over your face. You feel like you're in the damn action. You got blue, tall people all around you. I mean, it's amazing. But yeah, in terms of do I need to watch this movie again? Like you guys said before me, I don't need to watch this again in the movie theater. So, all right. So I think all three of us are kind of in the same boat. We love the visuals, but the story could have been a little bit more polished and a little bit more intriguing, and the pacing could have been a lot better.
I'm surprised neither one of you guys like left to go to the bathroom like I did, because I went to the bathroom, but that was just to stretch my legs because I just couldn't sit there anymore.
Like I said, you're getting old, Dustin.
Dude, well, no, I mean, it's just to the fact like 3 hours, and so that was, I think
it was over. I think it was over
3 hours and 10 minutes, I believe, is the runtime.
A little over.
I'm really surprised because there was a few people that had to go that went to the they left the theater for a little bit. I know they did the same thing I did, just to stretch their legs and maybe, wake up a little bit, because
probably smoke a cigarette, check some emails.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, like when I came back, I didn't feel like I missed much. I mean, there was nothing. No plot twist.
You didn't. I remember what scene.
I remember what scene, and we'll get to that. So, all right. So we gave our initial thoughts. We all loved the visuals. The story, though, it kind of bored us, as we all.
Can I just add one thing though on that?
Go for it. Go for it.
So I would say, I guess one thing we have to remember though is that it is only the second movie in a 4-part series. So
he says 5 or 6.
Okay. So, I mean, there's only so much you can expect, I guess you could say, from the story. A lot of it will be build up. So I guess keep that in mind as well.
5
it's
or
not like
6.
it's a grand finale or the last, the last
that's
movie.
18 hours of life right there. 5 or 6, 3 hours long. Who knows? He might add another hour on part 4 and part 3 and part 5. That's like,
and then ends part 6 in 3 parts.
That's all day. It's like a 24-hour movie.
Yeah, I mean, oh my God, God bless anyone who could watch Avatar 1 and Avatar 2 in one sitting, because I don't think I could be able to do that, as gorgeous as these two movies are. But all right, we've expressed how we felt about the movie without spoilers. So if you're watching this video and you don't want to know what happens in the movie, stop the video right now, because we're going to get not deep into spoilers, but we can't review the rest of this movie without getting into the details of the story, which will include spoilers starting now. So I got to say, like, as soon as the movie started, right, I was 100% invested. I didn't realize how much I missed this world. and I was so invested in seeing Jake Sully's story and how he's evolved into Terry. And there's like a nice little intro with the kids and everything and the introduction to all of them. I don't know any of the names of most of the kids, but yeah, I love that whole beginning and being introduced to Pandora once again. Like the world, the forest portion of Pandora, I missed greatly. I was like, oh man, I can't believe I'm really happy to be back here. I'm 100% invested in what's happening. What do you guys think about that opening portion though?
Boring.
You didn't like it?
Boring. No, I think it could have been 30 minutes. That could have just been a 3-minute narrative where it's like, hey, welcome back. This is what happened. This is what we've been doing. We have kids now. We have this. And then the sky people came.
That's what it
And
was,
then-
though. It was like,
No, but he stretched. It could have been a 3-minute thing and he stretched out to 30. I mean, it could have been a 3-minute intro and stretched out to, you know what it is? You know what, a lot of the movie is for everybody that, had to do like a college paper one time in their life. You had that professor that knocked you on that college paper because he realized there was a lot of fluff in it. And you just, instead of getting to the point, you're just adding fluff to it because you had hit that 500 word minimum or something like that. And it felt like that's what it was.
There's a lot of fluff. No, I agree. There's a shit ton of fluff in this
Yeah.
movie, but I felt like that beginning part was needed. I enjoyed the introduction to Jake and Terry's story again.
I would say I think it is needed because you got to remember it's been how long has it been
Like
since
13 years?
13 years.
13 years.
I mean,
yeah.
you can't, Dustin, you can't go in there and wrap up 13 years, refresh people's minds from 13 years in 3 minutes. You know what I mean? You gotta give some background, which I think they did pretty good because I can tell you, I'm one to forget movies. I don't have a good memory when it comes to movies. And in the first 30, 45 minutes, I gotta, it kind of rekindled my memory on what the story's about, what kind of happened.
I mean, the beginning, it is a long beginning, but like you said, Chris, it was needed because I enjoyed being reintroduced to all these characters, but it's a long beginning. Like we don't even hit the water portion of the movie till like an hour plus in, but that's the thing. The whole beginning, like hour and a half, you think?
I was timing the whole time.
Hour and a half.
I was timing it the whole
Until
time.
we got to the water part?
Yeah. I was
Holy
timing it the
shit.
whole time.
Holy shit. Okay.
Yeah.
But before we get to that, let me just step back and say this. I had a very good time watching that first hour and a half, like the whole setup to the main storyline. Like I said, in terms of what I liked in the movie, forest over water any day. Like I like the visuals in the forest of Pandora because there's so many different variations of the landscape. And the water, you're kind of just subdued to coral and, water animals. But at least in the forest, I feel like the Na'vi got more things to do. And I like the whole return of the humans. The humans are assholes, same old story, but they're back and they're bigger than ever. They got better gear. They learned how to adapt to the conditions of Pandora and terraform the planet and just, extract whatever resources they have. And they could do it with less people, just big ass machines. And they just torch their force, right? Which forces the Na'vi to, and Jake to realize that, hey, they're coming for me. So it's best if I take my family and get out of there. And one of the main reasons is because they bring back a villain. I didn't even know this was happening. I guess it was in the trailers. I didn't know, but they brought back a main villain from the first movie, and that's Colonel Porridge. What's his name? Courage. Anyone remember his name? The Colonel's name, played by Stephen Lang.
Yeah, Miles Courtridge.
Courtridge. Yeah,
Miles Courtridge.
Yeah, they brought him back as a villain, and honestly, he was my favorite part of the movie. But what did you guys think about them recycling his character as a villain?
I thought that was weak. I thought that, dude, 13 years and you had to bring back the same villain. You could have brought someone else bigger or at least to move the story along, to move the character arc move along of Jake and his family. And instead, again, we just talked about this as a rehashing of the original film because you bring back pretty much the same story with the same villain in a different form. So for me, it was like that. Come on, dude. That's when I started losing it.
Yeah. So now the Colonel they uploaded his earlier conscious into an avatar, which is pretty interesting. But I was a fan of them bringing him back. But Chris, what do you think about recycling the villain?
Yeah, I mean, but you got to think big picture, right? So obviously, Corvich is.
Courage. Let's just call him the Colonel. The Colonel.
Yeah, the Colonel. Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It was all about.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
The Colonel is obviously going to be a big part of the story throughout the whole series. He has a son. I mean, so you already know that's going to be integral to like the rest of the story. So you can't just have him die and then have the son there. It's a 6-part movie, whatever, possible 6-part movie. And he was integral to the first movie and he's integral to the whole story. So,
yeah, he's kind of like the Agent Smith of the series. Like you could kill him, but he just keeps coming back. And now that we have this cheat code of like, all right, maybe we could just download people's consciousness to avatars. So no one could ever really be dead now. They have that escape route, right? Of like, well, maybe they just downloaded this person's consciousness. We could just bring them back. But yeah, so you mentioned his son. There's a bunch of like, not like 70% of the cast are newer characters because there's we got to introduce the whole kid portion of Jake Sully and Neytiri. So like one of the main plot points is Jake and Neytiri have to leave the forest portion of the world because they're being hunted by the Colonel and the new forces on Earth. And to protect his kids and his family, they just like, screw it. We can't, they're going to keep coming for us and killing our rebellion, which I did like the whole rebellion part. I like that part of the story. Before they went to the ocean part, they showed them attacking like transport systems and stuff. They're like, oh, that's pretty cool. Like this is like the beginning, which I was really invested in, is like the whole like first hour and a half is what would have happened if they would have lost in the first movie, right? Because if the humans would have won in the first movie, this is what would have happened. Like they'd resort to like just being rebels while their planet is slowly being taken over. But yeah, that was the main reason why they go over to the water tribe. Is Jake realizes like, hey, I got to protect my family. They're never going to stop coming, especially with the Colonel's resurrection. So we got to bounce out and find another place to hide.
I think that's what made the story plot, the plot of the story pretty weak because, yeah, the Colonel is the Colonel and he's so pretty much one-dimensional. He's like a Colonel from the 1980s. Let's go in there. Let's be macho. Let's blow shit up. Blah, 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 big guns, blah, 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 blah. I mean, if they brought in a different sort of villain in there that was had a different way of maybe going after Jake or going after the avatars or trying to mine whatever they're trying to do on Pandora, then they would have arced all the Na'vi into a different road. Like we can see them in a different light using other resources that we didn't know they had, instead of the same thing of a bow and arrow and, just going to war, rebellious style, guerrilla style. So, I mean, that's again, you got you liked it, but to me, it's because they brought back that same villain. That's all we can see is now they're going to run away and they're going to go back into being rebels and they're going to be, here comes a tribe and here comes the bows and arrows and instead of the flying dragons or, then now we have fish. It was the same thing. They just use different animals, but it's the same plot because it's the same villain. And Oh, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say, dude,
he looks so disgusted. The more we talk about it, the more Dustin hates this movie. Yeah. So let's keep going.
No, I do agree with you on that, though. I mean, it would be cool. Like, okay, you can have the Colonel be the one-dimensional, prototypical antagonist, but then it would have been cool, maybe, especially if it's going to be a 6-part or whatever, which I think they probably will end up doing anyways. But you can introduce an actual, more maybe fleshed out villain to where his sole motivation is not just trying to kill Jake Sully. What if you had a character come in and his motivation was to almost like I guess you can kind of compare it like maybe Hitler. I don't know, like he
time out. Oh, time out.
Yeah, okay, all right, dude. All right, we can take that out.
All right, we're keeping this in. Chris just went there.
All right. So, in terms of the villain coming in and wanting to believe that he can either make the Na'vi world a better place and they can assimilate, and or if not, then totally exterminate.
Yeah. They want to assimilate to the super race, right?
But
that's what you're trying to do.
You would have that viewpoint or that feeling that he really 100% believes in what he's doing is right. The same way we believe when we do, we do stuff and we have a strong belief in.
So you want a villain like that introduced, or do you think?
I think that would be cool. It would give more. It'd be more fleshed out. Like, I mean, instead of just a one dimensional, I think that would be awesome, man. I mean, think of all the stuff he could could be capable of.
No, you make a perfect point. And I honestly think that's the way they're going to go, just not with the Colonel, because I mean, we're jumping like way ahead here, but yes, the Colonel lives in this movie. His son, Spider, who's kind of integrated with the Navi. He's a human, but he lives like a Navi. By convenience, he's the son of the Colonel. And I thought the Colonel was going to have a full on face turn, like earlier in the movie, because like, all right, he's going to rekindle a relationship with his son. He's going to turn good by the end of the movie, which he kind of did. He didn't force himself. He couldn't kill his son, or he didn't let Neytiri kill his son, because we'll get to that later. Neytiri went ape shit in the movie. I really liked her later in the movie, but he couldn't kill Jake Sully's son when Neytiri had Spider, his son, hostage. He kind of showed his cards and showed that he did care about his real son, which is not his real son, because this is his conscience from before he died. It's complicated shit, but not really complicated. But I mean, it's inevitable. The Colonel is going to have a redemption arc, probably going to end up dying a good guy. And that way we can have a new villain introduced. If you would say a Hitler type villain that Chris is clamoring for, I guess.
He's asking for it.
Yeah.
He's got petitions signed up for it.
All right. That's the type of villain we want to see. And honestly, that type of villain is needed for this universe, because I mean, it's obvious that the Colonel isn't going to remain the Bane baddie, but he is going to remain an integral part of the story, like Chris said. So let's get to the main portion of the movie that took so much of the time, and that's the water portion, where Jake and Neytiri have to relocate the fam to another tribe. I forget what they're called, but it's a different tribe that lives and resides in the water. We're introduced to them. We get long sweeping shots of the water. It's gorgeous. And these type of Navi, I don't even think they're called Navi. They're called something different, but they were an interesting type. They're a little bigger. They're more teal than blue. And they were interesting culture, but at the end of the day, they weren't that much interesting than the Navi.
I think they're going for like the Samoan style thing, because they had that war cry during the battle. They were sticking their tongues out.
Yep.
So I think they're going for that. They were going to be a variation of Polynesian warriors. That's what they were going for. But nothing. I mean, again, it was very similar. Nothing too crazy of a different tribe or different clan in Pandora. Pretty much similar. They just swim. That's it. And they got like fins on their hands, and their
tails. Their tails have
bigger.
evolved to be more of like a rotor fin
that
helps them swim.
Yeah, but
it's just
same concept.
I mean, I found underwater so much more boring than the forest. But Chris, you said you liked the water portions a lot, or were more like you liked the water world of Pandora more than the forest world.
Yeah, but I liked it more just because of for the visuals. Especially like at night, it was just, I mean, the colors were just, and the visuals underwater, it was pretty cool. Like, we don't see, I mean, besides Aquaman, I mean, how many movies do we see that take place in water, like for that much of a portion of a movie? I mean, so it was kind of cool to see when they hunt I forgot the name, but the whales.
The whales. Yeah.
The technical way that they hunt the whales, and they break it down. You actually get to see the military and the technology behind it, and the thought process to go and take the whales, and the reasoning why they want to take down the whales. It's actually pretty cool. But they break it down step by step. It was pretty badass, like the way they take the whales. It's almost like cavemen back in the day, where they would try to get one bison away from the herd and take it down. Same concept here, except it turns out that these whales, which was kind of like a little surprise, that they hunt them because they have something in their body that can stop humans from aging.
In the first movie, it was something called unobtainium.
Yeah,
unobtainium. Which, what a name for a freaking thing, right? But in this movie, the whales have something that stop aging. So it's like a tree of life inside these whales that the humans are extracting now. But speaking of the whales, like a good portion of this movie, they introduced this whole whale culture. And one of Jake Sully's sons has a connection with one of the whales. A good portion, like I'm saying like 20, 30, maybe even 40 minutes of the movie felt like it was dedicated to Jake's son and his relationship to this whale. I felt like I was watching an intergalactic version of Free Willy, and it started to bore me out of my
Good way to
mind.
put it, dude. Yeah.
Dustin, you were going to say something?
I think that was when I went to the restroom when I
You
missed
did.
all that.
It was
It was.
Yeah.
during that part, yeah.
And I came back
was.
and they were friends again. No, but yeah, I was glad you guys made that point that in this movie they were trying to, part of why they're back is to go ahead and poach these whales for their brain fluid or whatever
Yeah.
to stop aging, which again is just it's a different version of the original movie because they can't. What did they come here last time for?
Unobtainium. It was called unobtainium.
And they were mining it, right?
Yeah.
They were mining it. Now they're poaching it. It's just, to me, like, how do you, as a writer, like, it's like, hey, how can we do this? I get us instead of mining it, we're gonna poach it.
Yeah,
And
we
we're gonna
got
call
to
it a different
criticize James Cameron's writing because, I mean, a lot of these directors, a lot of these OG directors like to shit on like Marvel and comic book movies they're just like theme park movies. Like, they're not real movies. But I mean, for all its purposes, the technical achievements of Avatars 1 and 2 are amazing. But the story writing in 1 and 2, I mean, come on, James Cameron, you could do better than this, man. You could do better than this. So. Yeah, the underwater part, like the whole whales. I mean, like you said, one of my favorite scenes of the movie was that whale poaching scene because of the way we got to see the military operate. And that's really when I was invested. That's why I like the Colonel's character, because we got a break from all the water bullshit and we got to cut to the military and see what they're doing. So that's why I liked his character, even though you said he's kind of one-dimensional cartoony. I liked when we cut away to his character because it gave us a break from all the oohs and the ahs and learning this new world of water, and we got to see some cool military stuff. So
it wasn't the Colonel though. It was the poacher that made it more interesting.
Yeah,
because the Colonel basically said, "All right, man, you can have it your way." And all of a sudden, it was taken. Now he's in charge. The poacher guy, along with his team.
Like the whaler became like the main villain more than halfway through the movie because it was the Colonel, and all of a sudden they introduce us to these whalers. And it's like, of course we hate this guy. All he wants to do is kill whales. And he's like, oh, we got to make money. We got to make money and kill whales. So it's like, all right, I hate this guy. Yeah. And he became the main villain and he wasn't that interesting. So you're right.
The whaler guy was the one that showed us the poaching of the whales, why they're back in Pandora, so they can take that de-aging cream or what the Botox of Pandora, if you want to call it that. We'll just call it the Botox of Pandora. And then he was the one that that sort of brought us into the climax of the movie, which finally woke me up. So thank God for that guy, because Colonel, whatever his name is,
Colonel and the whaler guy. But it wasn't just the whaler and the Colonel that were advancing the plot. It was the kids. So let's just get into the kids for a minute here. There's how many kids? There's like 4 kids, and like 2 of them are adopted. Right, like
one immaculately conceived, and then the other.
Yeah, okay. So we got the 4 kids, or like the 2 or 3 kids from Jake and Neytiri. Then you have Spider, who's kind of adopted by Jake and Neytiri, who's the Colonel's son. And then we have the daughter of Grace. I forget her name. She's one of the main characters of the movie. She's the Na'vi that was born of Sigourney Weaver's character from the first movie, who is dead. She's in a tank. But she gets pregnant magically and births this young Na'vi girl who gets adopted by Jake and Neytiri. And she's kind of like Jesus, like Na'vi Jesus. She's born without a father from a dead mother. Mm-hmm. And then she has a connection with Pandora. Like anything she plugs into, she learns that she has like a symbiotic relationship with the world itself, particularly in the water. Like she gets some sort of power underwater and she could feel the essence of, what's the tree? What's this hippie bullshit name? What's the tree's name?
Dude, we don't remember names of this movie.
I was probably sleeping when they said that.
You probably were.
I probably was sleeping when they said that.
We don't remember names of this movie, dude.
The kids were all right. I liked the relationship. Like they felt it felt natural, like the banter between the kids. So I didn't hate the kids, and they did advance the plot forward. But in doing so, they did it the same way each time. Which what I mean by that is the kids find a place, the enemies find the kids, and then the parents have to save the kids. It happens over and over again in this movie.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, it's just that's the same thing. It's the same thing over and over, like you said. But then I probably slept through the first time, so I only saw the second time when they had to come get the kids.
Right. Dustin
So-
slept through half the movie, so we can't
I did.
rely on
Yeah.
what too much he has
I
to
mean-
say. So, Chris, what I mean, do you have any what are your gripes with
Yeah,
this? Let's
I
get
mean,
into
it's
the
pretty much the
negatives. Let's just get
same.
into the
If you've
negatives.
seen it, if you've seen it once, you've seen it all. Kids want to impress dad or act older than they are. They do stuff to prove that. They get in trouble, get themselves in trouble. They do focus on the second oldest child the most. He is the main focus, the one that builds a relationship with the whale. So I'm sure he'll be like a main focus going forward. He might even, I don't know. I'm guessing he might be the one to take Sully's place if Sully dies at like movie 6 or something, as a leader of the Na'vi or whatnot. Maybe that's what they're setting him up for.
Yeah, the second son was kind of the maybe third lead. It was between Jake, the girl, his daughter with the powers, and the second son. Natiri was in it, but she didn't have a really big role to play. And Zoe Saldana really killed it with her performance. Like actually all the actors, by the way, through the motion capture performances, I mean, it was amazing. But Zoe Saldana probably does the best job out of all of them. But yeah, there's the kids. There's a lot of focus on the kids. They probably took the spotlight for more than half the portion of this movie. But I enjoyed their characters. I didn't hate them at all. But
the smallest one was kind of like the
smallest one was
comic
irrelevant.
relief.
Yeah, the youngest one was irrelevant about the whole thing.
They had probably like 5 lines throughout the whole movie, all comic relief.
I did like the youngest when of course when they get captured again, she's like, "Oh God, I can't believe I'm tied up again." I did get a really good. I got a really good laugh at that because it's like, you got your ass tied up again. This is a damn 10th time this has happened in the movie. So yeah, I like that meta type of humor. But all right, the kids
was only matter was the second son and then the
daughter
special powers.
Yeah.
So that was it.
The oldest son died, which I kind of saw coming. Because they were building up the second son so much, and something bad had to happen, and the oldest son ended up getting shot and dying. But I did like the ending when they got to see the son again through the tree and everything. But the last action scene, it was a bit more personal. It didn't have that grand finale feeling like the first Avatar.
Not at all. I was disappointed. But yeah,
you were disappointed in the last action scene.
Yeah, like it didn't. I mean, for a movie like that big, man, I was expecting just to be more entertained, but instead we had to wait 15 minutes for them to find their way out the damn boat. I think it was unnecessary. That was probably one of the most boring parts of the movie to me. I don't know. It could have been a lot better. To be honest, I think the first half of the movie is better than the second half. So
I could maybe see that. That.
The ending to me was like the Avatar version of the Expendables. I mean, it was just a lot of gunfire and people, acting very 1980s action movie and everything like that. And you got the 2 hostage scenes.
But it wasn't even on there's like no big kind of like all out war. It was, it was a very small scale, I guess, action scenes. There's nothing wrong with that if you do it the right way, but I don't think, it did not deserve to be like the climax. They could have went, I think, better on the climax of that 3-hour long movie. If you're gonna sit there for 3 hours, dude, you better damn make sure that last half hour, 45 minutes or an hour is good. And
I liked it. I thought it was pretty solid because I was like, okay, it's not the grand scale, war scene from the first movie. It's more personal. It's on a smaller scale. But even if I didn't like that it wasn't like the big epic battle, I liked all the technicalities of it. Like if you sit back and just watch what's happening on screen, you can't help but be impressed on how the action scenes took place or were executed. And I like the fight scene and the confrontation between Jake and his family against the Colonel. Despite the story being pretty simple in its approach, the acting and the way it was captured through all the motion capturing and whatnot, I was like, man, this is some great acting. And these, Na'vi, the way they're emoting, it just transfers on screen organically. Like it just looked real. But it was during that boat scene that you were hating on where I was like, okay, now the effects are starting to look a a little different because you have these Navi in like real world settings with different type of lighting, and it looked a little too shiny. I was like, everything looks so damn shiny. Like, but yeah, that last boat scene was like Titanic, you know. It was James Cameron's, way to film scenes like Titanic again, I guess. So yeah, the anti or the you thought it was anticlimactic, but it was. I guess it made sense because it was a way to show the Sully family rely on each other. You know, it became all about the family.
It got very Vin Diesel like.
Yeah, very all
Sully
about
stick together.
You know what? That's a perfect point. This whole movie was the motto of Dominic Toretto. It's all about family because the last like 30 minutes was all about the family and them trying to survive the ship, survive the colonel. Of course, Spider saves his dad and the colonel's going to live. We lose the main son. And the Natar, but other than that, the Sully family get a happy ending, right? They found a new place to live. They defended it. They know a bigger battle's coming. And that's kind of, the climax. It was sort of anticlimactic, but like we said earlier, James Cameron plans on having part 4 or part 5, but
yeah, I think it's already said next December.
Yeah,
it's gonna be 2024.
I think they're filming like whatever parts 3 and 4 back to back already. Like they're all filming it at once. I thought there was going to be 4 parts. I didn't know there was going to be a 5 and 6.
I can't wait for Avatar Part 3, Big Snowy Mountain. Okay, see what's gonna happen. Where else are they gonna go? It's big snowy mountain time.
Yeah, Avatar 3 Snow Day.
Yeah, Snow Day.
Yeah, Avatar 3 Snow Day. I guess you're right.
All the animals are gonna be all gonna be like polar, and they're gonna have to make connections with these polar people, and they're gonna be wearing like furry,
Eskimo Navi.
Eskimo Navi. You know, oh wow, it's gonna be great. Look
I like
how real the snow looks in IMAX 3D for 4 hours. That's what's gonna happen.
That will make me sleepy because I'll get too comfortable in the movie theater. You throw some snow at my face, I'll get too comfortable, and I'll actually take a nap. But I did like how the ending kind of wrapped up. Yeah. I did like how the ending kind of wrapped up, but I was disappointed because I was hoping like the Sully family, like Jake and them, were like, all right, we brought war here, we're gonna move on. But it's like, no, this is our home and the battle's coming here. I was like, I don't want to spend more time underwater. I was like, I'm ready to go back to the forest. But
what did you guys go back to the forest, dude? I don't think they're gonna. The next movie would be probably a combination of both. I mean,
hopefully
they're going to the mountains. Right now, they're going to the mountains. They need
it could be something like that. Yeah, or who knows, man? Who knows how big the universe is to where there's, we may explore another part of the Navi that we don't know. Like, who knows?
I'm hoping that it's not just humans either. In the next Avatars, throw in like different alien invaders or something. That would really shake things up if we get like different species of like smart aliens, like just have another force come in that's not human. Switch it up just a little bit. I don't know if I could take another story of, oh, humans are assholes again. And if it's not trees we're messing up, it's whales. And if it's not whales we're messing up, it's the climate. I don't know how much. I don't know how much our humans could fuck things up, but I don't want to see humans be the main villain again. But that's where I fear it's going because that's the theme of the Avatar series so far.
Well, if you want to think about this over, it's like a lot of us came on this thing, and I'm sure a lot of viewers are going to go in there because they want to see the visuals and they want to see the beautiful CGI or whatever James Cameron's doing. But if they release another one next year, there's not going to be much change in the visuals. And at the end of the day, the story is still pretty mediocre. So it's not like an Infinity Wars Endgame, like, all that stuff, or Harry Potter, Deathly Hallows 7, part 1 and part 2, where you're going there for the story. Yeah. So if you came in here for the main part to see the visuals, there's not going to be much change of visuals the next part, whether it's 2023 or 2024. There's not going to be much of a drastic change.
So I got a question, and this kind of leads into that, but it's just pretty much a yes or no question. Do you guys think that this one will top the first one in the box office?
I don't know.
Talked about this.
I don't even know why you guys gotta like think about it. I say no. Like,
I say no. Yeah.
We had this conversation in the last video. If it's even gonna top Gun? Do you think it's gonna top Gun?
No, I hope it doesn't. I bet against you though. You said it wouldn't, and I said it would. We'll see. I don't want it to. I don't want it to. I'll say
I don't
that.
think it would.
I
don't think
said
it
I
would.
said it would if the word of mouth got really well, that it was amazing. But I think there's going to be a lot. It's going to be a half and half. There's going to be people that are going to say I love it because of the visuals, but then the story is. We saw the story, and there's nothing else. I don't know how you can read the story any more than it was mediocre, and it was
You
just
got to really,
regular.
really step it up these
Yeah.
next couple of movies, man.
Well, they did leave some plot points open ended, like Navi Jesus, the girl, the daughter.
Yeah,
We don't know
Yeah,
what's up with
yeah.
her. We really don't know. Uh, what other the colonel and his son?
The Colonel and the Son.
I mean, you have that storyline that could move forward if that evolves into something better. And then you just have Jake and his family integrating with the water tribe and what they could prepare for the upcoming battles ahead. So I guess those are the main plot points we could take. I mean, if they do anything else with that, the resource that makes people age for or de-age or remain young forever, whatever, that's kind of a big deal. So whatever they decide to do with that, there are some plot points they set up because even though the movie I thought had a pretty good ending, it does have some open-ended questions of what they could do moving forward. So maybe there's a lot more people invested in those storylines. For me, they're not strong enough to keep me waiting, especially another 13 years or whatever, how long it takes. But you guys said it's coming out in like 2 years or whatever. I don't know. I don't know.
I really wish they would have like maybe introduced somewhat like a new villain. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
I mean, what we I wish they would have done that, set it up, get us excited for something like, okay, he looks pretty cool, or at least we have something to look forward to for the next one. I mean, right now at this moment, that's all we have to look forward to is what's going to happen with the Colonel and his son. Okay, Jake Sully's ready to battle again. Okay, we expected that. You know, we knew there was going to be more movies, so obviously going to be more fights. But I mean, what else new is going to keep people invested or coming back to get excited about? Like, you know what I mean? Like in Endgame, you knew like, okay, everybody disappeared, snap finger, like what the fuck is gonna happen next? But now here, I mean, I don't know what gets you that your butt back to the theaters to be excited to watch the third one.
Well, that's the only way I'll go back is to watch it in the theater. I don't see myself watching this movie again at home. Maybe on a rainy day one day. But the last thoughts before we give our ratings. Dustin, what Chris just gave his. What do you think the future of Avatar will be?
like I said, big snowy mountain, new snow. That's where they're going. I mean, it's just going to be again visuals, mediocre storyline. Very much a comparison, like when I said about Black Adam. The story was mediocre. The special effects were amazing. I'm pretty sure this is gonna make a lot of money. And I said if it's gonna top Gun, it's gonna be very minimal. I don't think it's gonna blow anything out the water. There's no way it's gonna beat Avatar 1, or even, I don't think it's gonna hit the top 5. But it might,
Yeah.
it might.
The only way it would, and the only reason possibly it can, is because most of the sales would be like driven by the 3D, the IMAX 3D, which does drive the revenue up.
It ain't
does.
cheap.
Yeah, that's true. That is true, because of the IMAX 3D one, which you have to really watch.
And that's why part of the reason why the first one was so successful, because of that too.
Mhm.
So
All right. We wrapped. I mean, we talked about as much as we can. I mean, for the most part, the visuals are like a
Don't forget
perfect score
ratings.
from all of us. Like you can't second guess the visuals. I mean, that's what you come to watch these movies for. But let's give a rating. So out of 5, Chris, go first. Out of 5, what do you give this movie?
yeah, so I would say out of 5, 3.5, and that 0.5 is because of the visuals. I almost want to give it a 4 just because it was that cool and that awesome to see, and but I want my rating to age well, so I'll say 3.5.
All right, Dustin, rating.
I'm going with the 3. 5 for the visuals, and then like pretty much a 1 point something on the story.
Ooh.
Wow, pretty.
Ooh,
That
yeah, you
averages
were.
out to the middle. 3. It's the same story, and it's
Yeah.
3 hours long. Like I said earlier, it's a lot of fluff. It's just a lot of fluff.
All right, so we got 3 from Chris, or 3.5 from Chris, 3 from Dustin. I'm gonna go ahead and match Chris's score of 3.5. I think, out of respect to the visuals and the hard work they put into just the way the movie looks, you can't give it no less than 3. But that 0.5, yeah, I wish I could give. I wish I could give it a 4. Same as you, Chris. I wish I could, but that story is just not enough for me to come back. And even though I don't hate any of the characters in this movie, I don't like, any of them enough to want to see them again. I think mostly Jake, Sully, and Natiri, but they were kind of sidelined in this movie as well. It was mostly about the kids who I didn't hate, but if you're going to keep the kids doing the same shit over and over, I'm going to get bored, which I did. So it's a 3.5 for me. If you're watching this, watch this in IMAX. And if you enjoy it, watch it as many times as you like. But for your first time watching Avatar, The Way of Water, you got to watch it the best way possible to get, the most out of your viewing pleasure. And that's IMAX, because it is a pleasure to behold. So, all right, we gave our ratings. Anything you guys want to get off your chest before we end this long, lengthy review of Avatar: The Way of Water?
No, I guess we can look forward to Avatar 6 in 2042.
If we get to 6. Dustin, anything to say before we get the hell out of here?
No. That's basically my whole attitude towards. I was just a melancholy no. Like nothing.
So just like the movie, this review has exhausted Dustin's resources. He's clocking out for the night, as are the rest of us. So watch this movie, watch it in the theater, and then post out in the comment section below of what you thought of Avatar: The Way of Water. What would you rate it? What was your favorite part? Can you not wait for parts 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, or how many James Cameron decides to make? I really hope, after he's done with this passion project, we get to see what he's capable of in other, forms of story or whatnot. But that's it for the review. I want to thank my tribesmen, Dustin, Chris. Thank you for joining me on this review of Avatar: The Way of Water. If you like this video, make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe to my channel as well for more videos from us. Be sure to hit that notification bell as well, and we will see you all next time. See you.